Hey guys, welcome back. Myself Shubham and welcome to a new video. In this video, we are going to talk about pros and cons of being a remote developer. I've been working as a remote developer for quite some time. And in this time phase, I have understand the pros as well as the cons. This complete video is divided into two parts. The first one is in which I talk about the perspective of company, why they are hiring remote developers. And the second one is, which is our main topic for this video, the advantages and the disadvantages. Coming back to my first part, the growth of remote developers is increasing year by year. If you compare the data from 2018 to 19 to 20, you will realize the number of positions from different companies as well as the number of applicants are increasing year by year. Even the freshers from college are more interested towards remote development. And there are few reasons that need to be considered from both sides, from a company's perspective as well as from a developer's perspective. Let's consider this from company's perspective quickly. I'm going to talk about this scenario in a separate video, but in this video let us understand few major points. The first one is office space. You can see and analyze the rent of offices are quite high in certain cities. So if you think about company's perspective, you are going to hire 20 developers, 10 are on-site and 10 are remote developers. You are going to save a lot of space for these 10 developers, and which is a major amount in a big city. The second thing is you don't have to give them certain bonuses, perks as well as lunch. So there are a lot of other benefits that you don't have to deliver as a company to your developer. Even you don't have to provide your internet connection, because a developer or a remote developer is going to have its own connection. So these are some other major parts. The third thing is you can have your workforce from all over the world. Think of a startup in US, maybe a Silicon Valley startup or maybe from any other location. You don't have to pick developers in that particular position. You can now have remote developers from India, maybe Brazil, maybe any other part of the world where the currency difference is major. If you are going to hire a new fresh developers, you might have to spend maybe $70,000 to $100,000. But if you are going to hire the same quality developers from other countries like India, you are going to have a base salary of maybe $15,000 to $20,000, which is going to be equal in both states. Now this reason is quite big in terms of company's perspective. Here you have to spend over $100,000 for a developer, and the same quality of developers you can get for some $20,000 to $25,000. So this is some major gap that is now explored by company, and that is the reason companies are now hiring different remote developers from different part of the world, and this is working pretty fine for them. Now let us talk about the second part of our video, which is the advantages as well as the disadvantages of being a remote developer. The first direct advantage of being a remote developer that you can think of is time flexibility. So there are chances that you are working from other part of the world and you have full flexibility to choose your time zone, at what time you need to work, and you have 8 hours or 9 hours of work. So chances are you can start your work from morning 7 a.m. and you can complete everything by 3 p.m. and that's it. You have your time for other things. You can do your side project, your side hustle, maybe you need to hit gym, or maybe you have some any other activities. You can balance your work as well as life quite well. So this is some major advantage. You can have your flexible timing. Some developers start their timing from morning 5 a.m. and by afternoon 1 they are free. They are free from their work and then they do side hustle or maybe their side project. So this is something interesting. There are developers who are using this advantage to learn certain new skill, and there are developers who find their new passion in gaming, streaming or maybe some outdoor activity. So this is quite interesting to explore. The next direct advantage I can think of is traffic. Since you are working as a remote developer, you are working from your home, you don't have to travel much. In this current situation where traffic is growing in every part of the world, this point can be considered for many developers who are leaving their job and working as a remote developer. There are certain users, certain people who are traveling approx 1 hour daily from their home to developer job daily, one time, one way. So you can understand that they are spending approx 1 or 2 hours daily just to travel to their work location. So traffic can be considered as one of the major advantage why people are considering as remote developer position. So the third major advantage that you can think of as a remote developer is your own working environment. So if you're working as a remote developer, you have a lot of flexibility here. You can choose your gadgets, you can choose your setup, you can choose your furniture, and even the environment in which you are sitting. So this one is a small example but can play a crucial role if you're working for 2 or 3 years continuously as a remote developer. After that, if you try to switch back to your normal job, your normal life, it is going to be hard because you are now utilizing certain things which is not accessible with different companies. So there are chances that if you are working with FANG or any other top companies, you get this priority. But if you are working with any other product based companies or service based companies, you are not going to get your own custom setup according to your requirement. It will be according to company's requirement. So this one is a small advantage, but you can consider it. The fourth one is your savings over clothing as well as transportation. I know this might sound silly, but if you think of a year-long expense over clothing as well as transportation, this is going to be a lot of money. Think about spending money over cabs as well as different clothing style for your offices. So this one is a small advantage but should be considered if you are thinking of switching from developer to remote developer or vice versa. Now let us quickly talk about disadvantages. So if you are a remote developer, even if you are a fresh remote developer, your problem with meetings is going to be a big one. If you are someone who is working as a remote and there are other people who are working as in-house developers, your connection with them is going to be big problem, as well as if you are attending any meeting, there are chances that you might miss certain points. Because a meeting can be of 15 minutes, but there are other talks that happen after meeting or before meeting. You are going to miss that points, and there are chances that you are going to miss reference to these small talks. So these small talks are quite important. So if you are working as a remote developer, you are going to miss this point. If you are connecting with a person face to face, and if you are connecting with them on a Skype or maybe on a text messaging, it's quite different. So you have to understand this point, and it plays a crucial role for some people to not consider remote development job. The next point is distraction. So now there is no one looking at you. Now there is no one that is speaking at you, checking what you are doing and certain other things. So you are free on your own and you have certain deadlines on your own. You have to follow a discipline on your own. So what happens is usually developers get distracted. Maybe your favorite creator just uploaded a new video, or there are certain Instagram posts, or maybe a Twitter trend. So there are certain distractions that keep bugging you again and again. So you have to follow a discipline on your own like you usually do with exams. With this current world of internet and connectivity, distractions are a big problem and you need to face on your own. This problem is not going to be controlled by the world, but this is your own control over your mind. How long, how well you can stay disciplined throughout your work journey. The next and the most important point is your base salary. So if you are considering your base salary comparing with other employees, it is going to be low. If I talk about base salary for a student in Silicon Valley, it might be 80k to 100k. But if I talk about the same base salary in India, it will be quite low, maybe 20,000 max. So you have to understand this particular point, but you have to also consider your currency exchange difference and how you are going to spend. 100k is a decent amount in US as well as 20k is decent amount in India. So this is something really important that need to be considered. Now the next biggest point and the biggest disadvantage is physical interaction. This particular point is the reason that most of the developers work full-time and they prefer on-site job. The reason is when you are working as a remote developer, you are not going to interact with anyone. You are not going to network with any new member in the community physically. You will be interacted everyone online, maybe it's Stack Overflow, maybe in some group, maybe even with your colleagues, you will be interacted on Slack and you have no other information about them. So this is something which can be taken as advantage and disadvantage depend on person to person. But this point is the important point to consider. And most of the developers try to work full time on site because of this point. Suppose if you comes from a background where you don't have much friend, you don't have college friend or school friend, then you are going to live alone, and which is quite scary if you think about. If you take popular example, there are certain YouTubers who have already talked about this topic, because if you are living alone for quite a long time, you are going to see certain points, you are going to see certain patterns, that you are following this pattern daily and there is nothing else. And even if you need to talk with someone, you cannot have a personal conversation. You can have a conversation regarding your programming skill, you have any doubt or they have any doubt, but they are not going to have a personal and even a physical interaction, which is quite a serious matter for a long term of point. And if you have a background, you have school friends, you have college friends, then this point is not a big issue. But if you come from a background where you don't have many friends in school as well as in college, then this is a serious problem. Think about, you are not going to have interaction with someone for next 7 days, how it is going to feel like. So this one is actually a serious point and you should consider it before finalizing any decision over an on-site job or a remote developer job. I hope now you have better understanding over advantages as well as disadvantages for remote developer job. So that's all for this video. I hope you like this video. Don't forget to click on like, comment if you have any question or if you have any suggestion, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm trying to create a complete series over remote development job and other programming stuff. So consider subscribing as well as liking. Also, if you are a beginner into programming or a computer science student or someone who is interested to learn programming, then consider checking out my course, where I talk about everything from basics to advanced. We take Python as our main programming language, build some project, talk about their concept, talk about data structures and algorithm, and lot more stuff. So this is one complete course that will take you from basics to advanced. Don't forget to check this out, link in description. If you have any question related to computer science, don't forget to connect with me on Instagram and I will be replying you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.